How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to be doing a quick little compilation of a few YouTube shorts by, I don't even know this guy's name, I forget, but you'll recognize him in just a moment. He's going to be explaining about how he toad proofs, similar to snake proofing a dog. In this video, saying beware, this can kill your dog. Or not even can, this will kill your dog. So we already have fear mongering, so he's saying this is how I train, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to snake proofing, toad proofing, whatever kind of proofing you're doing, be very careful with the trainers that you go and do this with, because very often they're going to be using very abusive tactics to teach your dog to become very fearful of these items, but yeah, animals. And even so, it doesn't even really work the way they teach it. So we'll let him explain. Before I start anything, all these are being used under Fair Use Act for, all videos here are being used under Fair Use Act for criticism and educational purposes. I mean, nothing personal against this guy. I don't want anybody to go out there and leave any mean thoughts or anything on comments. Don't go after this guy. This is just my opinion differing from his.
The touch of the venom. She's got a lot more in there. That's enough to kill your dog. 'Tis the season for toads around here in South Florida.
Okay, so that's something that I was not aware of, is that South Florida had a toad issue, or a poisonous toad issue. So if the dog were to go pick up a toad, put it in their mouth, start chewing on it, this toad would likely secrete this oily venom or poison, I guess. It would be poison. A poison toad, not a venomous toad, because poison is to be ingested. Venom, it means that it's secreted from the animal into your bloodstream. So, poisonous toad.
Well, toads have come out of hibernation, and
so we see right here, he already has a mini educator, which is an electric collar remote. That's the only time I'm going to be using electric, because the way he uses it is a shock collar. Either way, even if you were to go touch a plug and it sparks you, you say it shocked me, not it stimmed me. He's using a very high shock level on this dog to teach them to avoid toads. It doesn't even do anything because it's very momentary, and dogs are contextual learners. They learn through the context. So just because they walk by a toad and they get shocked by something doesn't mean they're going to avoid toads in the future. Versus if you have a really good leave it cue or a recall, you can call them off of anything. You don't have to rely on this being charged, or your dog listening, or your dog not jumping back onto the toad or onto the rattlesnake or whatever it may be.
Everywhere. And this is going to be, she's too young to have been experienced with toads, and that's
fine. She has the typical 3 collars. This guy likes to use a shock collar, a prong collar, and his special martingale, which I don't know why he has these two on. Why does he have this on, or that, I should say this one, the martingale, if he's just using a prong collar. I don't know.
This is how I want him. I want him young and naive, because today she's going to grow up and she's going to learn her lesson today, which is...
She's going to learn a lesson she doesn't need to learn. It's entirely unnecessary. You're just using this as an excuse to abuse an animal in the name of training, in my opinion.
Play with toads. So we're going to pull out a toad and again show you how we proof dogs off of toads.
It's not really proofing them, though. What would be proof would be to call her away from it. If she's sniffing anything, if you're in Florida and you know you have a bunch of toads, don't leave your dog around. If you leave your dog around and you know there's a bunch of toads around, and you let them get into everything and get into trouble, then that's just not good pet parenting.
This can also apply to snakes or anything else that you don't want your dog to touch. This is what we call an aversive, right?
No, this is abusive. This is not aversive. Don't even, anything he does is aversive. This is straight up abuse.
Learning, motivating, annoying, corrective. Here's your aversive, folks.
No.
There's the dog. Here's the toad. Have a party.
Don't just throw the toad down. Poor little thing. Cute little toad.
He's nasty.
Hey,
I have what we call...
You know what? She's got a living to make. She's just being a toad. That's just for defense. I mean, I don't want anybody to go out there stabbing toads and going killing toads and getting mad at the toad, you know. He says he has his finger on the trigger. Lovely. Look, they set this dog up for failure, and it's not even going to work. This dog comes across a toad again. She would still question playing with it.
On trigger, and we're going to go ahead and release her.
So here it would have been an awesome opportunity to call her away. But he doesn't do that. He teaches by correction, aversive, abusive tactics, whatever you want to call it. I call it like I see it. Entirely unnecessary. She's over here. She's not getting a hold of the toad. Toad's just running away. She's over here sniffing. Easily could have called her away, and you wouldn't have to do any of this. And that would be far more impressive than what he's about to do. So he puts this cute little noise in the background. We'll go back and listen to it before you hear the dog whimper, and it's just, oh my god.
Sure.
Could we use this moment to call her back? Pretty little noise.
So
Poor dog jumps up and whimpers, and it just...
The 75 hold.
75 hold. This thing goes to 100, I assume. 75 hold. As if a tap wasn't enough, which all these people say, oh, it's just a tap. It's just a tap. He held it on 75. Jesus, dude, that's just abuse. That's not training. This dog isn't going to learn anything from that. Other than to become absolutely afraid anytime anything goes by ever. I mean, she easily could have redirected on her person, and she may in the future.
You could barely hear her give a little wince.
Yeah, barely give a little wince. She jumped up in the air, dude. Don't try to excuse your way for just plainly abusing an animal in the name of training.
Put your mouth on a toad, that toad will all but kill you.
But she didn't put her mouth on the toad. She's not going to associate that. All she saw that she was playing with the toad and she got punished. She knows where the punishment's coming from. From the collar, if she's used to it enough, and if not, then she'll say, okay, this animal, but there's not enough time for her to... You would have to repeatedly do that over and over for her to really see that I want to stay away from this toad at all cost. It's just stupid. Okay, so for this next one, he's going to be talking about how he's apparently so impressive that he has a Cane Corso that's young, off-leash. When it's not off-leash, he's relying on the shock collar. And the first thing he says regarding leash law says, okay, what's up, dodo heads? So he already insults us once.
It's time to get your panties untwisted. I'm going to help
so he insulted us twice. Trying to untwist our panties, not really going to have a whole lot of people listening to you. This dog is very stressed. He has, again, multiple collars on.
Wow. All day long, every day, we're getting
bunch of
blown
lip
up
licks,
in the comment section with you
very
Karens
stressed
out there
licking.
that are having issues with our dogs not being on.
Talking about people being Karens because you don't have your dog on a leash. Like, the reason why I have an issue with this is because I know that the dog is... I know what the type of training the dog goes through to be in this position without a leash, which means he relies on heavy aversives and corrections and just unnecessary training. To me, and I think, I don't know, if I haven't looked into the laws, they may have changed by now, but either you have your dog on leash, or your dog, if it is off leash, must be in complete control of you within your 6-foot bubble, just like it would on a regular leash. I mean, technically, some of those 20-foot retractable leashes are far more dangerous than, having an off-leash dog completely in your control. I would hope that dog would be taught with positive reinforcement, so that it's not just, force training, fear and intimidation, whatever, but to me, that's just me. That doesn't mean that that's the law, and the law probably changes in every county, in every state. It all depends.
Well, there's leash laws, and I encourage people to go out there and get that off-leash training, learn how to use e-collars so they can take their dog.
I disagree with that, because you can have your dog off-leash in appropriate settings without relying on a shock collar, because in the end, eventually that's going to fail you. Whether the battery will die, you're going to teach your dog a bad lesson. A lot of times you can start dog fights because people are going there, have dogs interacting with the damn shock collar on, and, dogs have just as fun of a time on a long line. My Shiba, I haven't taught him to be reliable off-leash, but everywhere we go, he has a 20-foot, 30-foot long line, and he has just as good of a time. Like, trust me, I go anywhere I want with him. The excuse I find that people have for off-leash dogs, and therefore this type of training, is that they can be lazy and let their dog go miles ahead of them, have fun, and then when they're tired, they can call their dog back. I'm not saying that's everybody, obviously. I will never say it's everybody, or all people, but the majority of people I've seen who want their dogs off leash, they don't join their dogs on their adventures. That's what I love about having a long line so my dog can get ahead of me, but I join him on his adventures. I mean, I don't want my dog running around in people's yards. I've seen too many people do that. They don't clean up after them. Again, it's an excuse for the human to be lazy. And so this is just the easy ticket to get your dog to listen to you off leash, when really you're just ruining your relationship with your dog by using fear and pain compliance.
Next level. And they say, oh, you shouldn't do that because there's leash laws everywhere you go. So
there
where
are
on
leash
earth
laws.
Would you ever have a dog off leash? I don't know. Let's think about it. Maybe in your neighborhood, maybe in your back.
I wouldn't necessarily say in the neighborhood. I really actually dislike people with loose dogs in the neighborhood because they are not in control of their dog. Their dog is not by them. In your backyard, yeah. In a fenced front yard, yeah. Or if you have really good control, and not control as in like master-slave relationship, like, hey, really good recall, good communication with your dog. Your dog is, happy to listen to you. But, over that, look, I just don't trust this kind of thing. Just because you have your dog off leash doesn't mean that it's okay for them to run up to other people with leashed dogs. Okay, a lot of dogs cannot be trusted off leash for whatever reason. It doesn't mean that the owner's any worse off because they just haven't taken the time to teach their dog to be off leash. Lots of sight hounds can't be off leash. I mean, again, doesn't mean the dog cannot enjoy a wonderful life just because they're on leash every time they're outside of a securely fenced area.
Backyard, maybe at the beach, maybe at the park, anywhere you need to take your dog and have them enjoy the freedom of being off leash.
They don't necessarily, I mean, he says like anywhere you need to take your dog and have them enjoy. Where do you need to take your dog? Not realistically, most people don't need to take their dog really anywhere. We want to, unless it's a service animal, unless it's a working animal, a tracking animal. And even then, they're all on really long leashes. I mean, like, the option is to have your dog off leash.
To have your dog off leash and have the ability to have a digital leash paired up so that...
So he talks about this being the digital leash paired up. It's just nonsense. It's just electricity. You're shocking the dog. You really don't have control. If you have to rely on this and your dog has to have it on to remind them that they can get shocked at any moment if they don't listen, your dog's really not trained. Like, he's going to say, that
if you had to call your dog back in an emergency situation, you could do so. That's what this is.
That means that it's not fully trained. If you have to call your dog back and they do not listen, it's not because it's a digital leash. This is far worse than like a regular leash because it's far more painful and can cause so many other issues. If your dog is far enough away that you have to rely on this, your dog is not trained and not ready to be off leash. You'd be better off having them drag a long line than using this, which can change behavior. And a lot of people, when their dogs do get off leash or they get out of the house or out of the yard, they turn this up so high that they can hear the dog yelp because they try to track the yelp in the neighborhood, shocking their dog repeatedly so they can find them.
A digital leash. So yes, my dog is off leash, but guess what? He's hooked up to a 400-yard digital...
shocking device. I would rather that's not freedom. You think this dog is free? This is far more of a prison than if this dog were on leash. That's how I see it. Okay, so up next we have, if at first you don't succeed, try again, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be talking about, we got this little husky here, which again probably has I imagine a prong collar on, and maybe a shock collar, I don't know, but it probably is martingale. Again, I don't know why he bothers with the martingale if he only ever uses the prong collar, that's just my opinion. She looks very stiff, she looks very uncomfortable. This dog does not look happy. It looks like a young husky. Young huskies of any age, are very hyperactive dogs. This dog does not look comfortable.
Lexi here with her owner. Crazy
Head
dog
down.
in the background barking. And this, my friends, is
Bless
the epitome
you.
of a beautiful on-leash walk.
That's not beautiful at all. Like, she doesn't look comfortable. She looks like she's, like, counting every step she makes. Her hand is stiff and being held back here with tension. The dog is not comfortable. Their head is very down low.
He's holding the leash like a pro.
This does not look comfortable in the slightest bit. This dog has a shock collar on because this little bungee cord, which you may or may not be able to see, is like the quick way to, if you ever have like a drawstring and you kind of have that little bungee clip on there, that little clip, and then you pull the bungee. So we don't know if this guy's hitting the button or not, or whatever he is. A lot of times if the dog would shake its head or, possibly kind of snort, I would assume or make that assumption. I'm not saying that anybody's shocking this dog anywhere, but nobody looks comfortable here.
Doing wonderful. Not too far ahead, not too far behind.
Who cares? The dog is not enjoying this. The owner's not enjoying this, but everybody sees this as being impressive. I just think it's just not enjoyable. Nobody likes this. Least of all the dog.
When we come to a nice slow stop, and let's see if she nails it. And she did.
Ouch!
Hey, Mama came in with the correction.
So unnecessary, but he's gonna go over and reward the human for hurting their dog. So what's wrong with that picture? I mean, like, it's just amazes me that people give, and I'm not picking on this person, I'm just saying that, like, look, really? You're gonna reward this person for, you taught her to do this, but, like, we're gonna give this person, how is the world so backwards that we're gonna reward a person for correcting a dog with a metal prong around their throat, who already looked fearful? You didn't even ask the dog to sit. You didn't ask him to stop. You didn't call their name. You didn't give them any chance.
Good job. Go up here in another.
No, that's not a good
feet, come to
job.
Stop.
That poor dog.
See, and we'll show you what that stop's supposed to look like. Always a work in progress.
Jesus.
Come to a stop now.
Fearful.
Oh, look who figured it out.
Fearful.
And praise her and pet her and let her know those.
Yeah, see those little bungees? That's from a shock collar. It's hidden in her fur. Oh, good job. Doesn't even pet the dog licks. Like, the dog doesn't care about this, or if you say good girl or whatever. The dog is I almost said a Shiba, a husky. They have very similar ideas that, you know what? I'm doing this because it's learned helplessness. I don't care about your good boying. I don't care about your attention. Then you better give me something good, or I'm only doing this because I have to. Take it as you will. I think that's just entirely unnecessary, and that poor dog is just miserable. And I don't think she's very happy either. So now we have a very large Great Dane saying bad dog training broke her arm. So before even seeing this, I had bet, myself anything that he was going to be talking about. The bad dog training was positive reinforcement. And lo and behold, that's his excuse, so.
I was flying. I crushed my knuckle.
So it's very unfortunate that she got hurt. I mean, whoever that was, I'm assuming her husband was, holding on to the dog, and he is struggling. So how do you suppose she's going to be able to hold on to this dog? So is it really that the training is bad, or is it just that we have an ill-equipped animal to human ratio? Like, we haven't started training early enough. We're working too fast. We're in an area where it's too distracting. The dog has already learned to pull. We're not using, appropriate tools. And by tools, I mean management, like harness and regular collar and nothing that causes pain and whatnot.
To have the same function with my ring finger.
Is that the one and only time that he's ever pulled you?
No. That's why I went. This is my third training.
So her third training by either third trainer or third session of training with somebody. I don't know. So she's been trying for a while, but in the end, it doesn't matter. The dog doesn't care what you try. They care what you do. So they have a very tight-looking slip lead on this dog. He's going to put his martingale on. I don't know why he bothers. He's probably just going to put a prong collar on.
Very powerful.
Immediately after.
Very powerful.
And you see his breathing? He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's hurting himself.
Yeah, and that's very common because dogs will pull. It's called the opposition reflex. Imagine if you're on the edge of a building on the roof and I go to push you from behind, you're going to fight that. It's your instinct. It's your instinctive nature to stop yourself from wanting to fall. Same with dogs. When they feel something on their throat, they think they're being choked. They don't think. They know they're being choked, and they're trying to get away from it, and it's a pull into a pull. So a job as an appropriate trainer should be to be able to teach the dog to, as I do, give into the pressure by moving them sideways so I'm not pulling directly back on them. Or, with a nice appropriate flat buckle collar like this, or even wider, or on a harness. Or to not even put any pressure on them at all. And teach them an alternate behavior.
Yeah, it's not good for his trachea.
Agreed, it's not good for his trachea.
She told me to pull back like this.
That's because she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, so I agree. But that's no different than what he's going to teach her. So she said that her previous trainer, whenever it was, told her to pull back. That's not helpful, period. And then if he's going to say that it's the positive reinforcement trainer that told her to do that, then that's not positive reinforcement.
I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at her. I'm mad at trainers out there, purely positive community.
So we don't know that that's what if that person was a force-free positive community person, trainer, that told her that's not positive reinforcement. So don't blame the method. His method is abusive. That method was just stupid. But we don't know what that other person, they could have taught also equally abusive training. The thing about it is that people like him wait for other training to fail and be under the positive community title. People like him and trainers who follow aggressive, assertive, whatever techniques will wait for the one time that they hear. They don't even know. They don't have any proof. They just hear. They just throw the name in there of someone in the positive community being the previous trainer. And now the dog is still acting like this, and they use that as an excuse to use their aggressive, unnecessary, and sometimes abusive, aversive techniques. It's not that the method failed. It's that the human failed to use the method correctly. Like, they want to say using the tools correctly. If you use positive reinforcement, which is to add something the dog finds positive, to reinforce a behavior. So, if you are using it correctly, you can add something to, in a way to prevent the dog from pulling, but you can add something to reinforce the dog walking by your side. So if you have the dog in an appropriate setting where there's not a lot of distractions and smells and such, and you have them in the house and you have a leash on them, you walk around, you give them treats or their kibble or a squeaky toy, something really fun. The dog gets to choose what's reinforcing. You will reinforce them walking calmly, and you work your way into different rooms, in the backyard, the front yard, to the mailbox, down the road, blah, blah, blah. Okay? I don't see that here, so they were not using positive reinforcement. Whether they tried to or not, the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the pooch, that they were not using positive reinforcement. So he's using that as an excuse to then use more aversive techniques.
Led to that broken hand because they didn't want to put the proper brakes on this.
No, you don't need to have proper brakes if you know how to teach it in the first place. I mean, I could start with this dog at any age. I've worked with dogs as strong as this. I've worked with Great Danes, and I never put this on because I'm not looking for something to hold the dog back. I'm not looking to use metal prongs to dig into the dog's neck. I don't know what he means by 10 months. Oh, what?
10 months of BS.
Okay, so this dog is only 10 months old. It's pulling him away on a prong collar. So how do we expect the other lady to be able to hold him back? It sounds like they didn't do enough research. I mean, I'm not hating on the owners by any means, but I want to hold all the humans here accountable. The dog doesn't care. The dog doesn't need to be held accountable. Can we still teach them manners? Sure. But he's been reinforced this whole time for pulling. When he pulls, he gets to sniff. That's fine. He doesn't need to be corrected in the sense of, you broke my hand, so now I need to be, put a shock collar on you, put a prong collar on you, you need to pay. The human should have known when too much was too much. I mean, if they drag you out of the house, then we're not going out of the house yet. We need to work on this inside the house, or have somebody who can control the dog, or, keep them from dragging them down the street. Once you get there, but it doesn't matter. The dog doesn't need to pay for a human's ignorance. And he's calling it BS. I think he's full of BS.
We start young. We start with a trainer that knows what they're doing. A balance.
No, not a balance trainer, because nothing about you is balanced. You're just full compulsion. You're a compulsion trainer. Yank and crank, yank and crank. You do what I say because I say it, because I'm a tyrant, because I think I'm the all-being. He's full of BS.
Trainer that's not afraid to use the proper tool.
No, that's not afraid to hurt an animal, abuse an animal, harm an animal, scare an animal, cause learned helplessness in an animal. That's what that really means.
You're about to have. Oh, just put the little martingale collar on and you'll be fine.
Absolutely, you can be fine. If you teach them the right way. I mean, he says put the martingale and you'll be fine. He put the martingale on, but he never uses it. What's the point of that? Are you just selling an extra collar? You sell a martingale. Do you not expect to use it?
There's not even a distraction out here.
No, there's plenty of a distraction. He just says there's just some smells. That's a distraction. You don't even see that? You're that stupid that you're that full of yourself that you don't see that the smells are a distraction? Idiotic. Okay, so this is the final one we're going over. Doberman with horrible leash reactivity. I wonder why he's reactive, because one, you're yanking him around, you're choking him around. We don't know if this dog is even used to you. He's on a prong collar, he's in pain, he's in fight or flight. We go from before to after, where we don't know how long this dog has been mentally and physically exhausted. He just looks so tired. He has 3 collars on. He's got the shock collar. He's got the prong collar. He's got his stupid martingale that he never uses. He's got his little treat pouch open, but I'm sure this dog hasn't had a single treat.
Dog anywhere. Owners reached out to us, said they've tried multiple trainers in the past. None of them could help.
Okay, so then that means either, again, what's the common theme here? All these owners say that these other trainers didn't help. Was it really the trainers, which it could very well be that they're incompetent trainers just like him? Or could it be that the owners were not consistent enough? They didn't put the time in enough? They were not held accountable enough? Because people don't want to hold the owners accountable. I hold the owners accountable. If you don't do the work, don't blame me. Don't blame the method. You got to keep yourself accountable. Blame yourself, okay? If there was there's a lot of trainers that are no-shows. I'm working with a client. We're training her German Shepherd to be a service animal. She had one trainer that did 3 no-shows in a row, and then she said, that's it. I could never imagine no-showing once without any kind of a, reason for it, or letting them know ahead of time, let alone twice. I would be afraid to ever show my face in public again. But that's, neither here nor there. But we don't know what the history was with those other trainers. But that's a popular thing that, I've been to multiple trainers. It's this, it's that. They have all these excuses. Are you sure it's not the owners? I've met with plenty of owners in my past that after one session, I was like, nope, I'm not going to continue being your trainer because you're not going to listen to me. You want to be the one who knows it all. And, you want me to train the dog for you when you don't realize I'm training you, the stupid human. And I call myself a stupid human, multiple times in a day even. So many times I've called myself a stupid human. So it's nothing personal. But that might be a common denominator, is that there's a communication mishap, or working too fast, or uneducated trainer, or whatever it is. And the poor dog has to pay for it.
Just kept getting worse and worse. And only at 11 months old, he's acting like a complete asshat anytime.
So again, he's calling the dog a name. Anytime I see someone calling a dog a name, I immediately put that name on this dude. So there's that.
And the owners.
I mean, he calls the dog an asshat, but he has to have 3 collars on the dog? Shock and prong are not enough? I mean, the martingale and the prong is not enough?
Anywhere on a leash. And so you'll see in some of the footage that instantly he's reaching out, lunging, barking, snarling.
Okay, well, that means he's over a threshold. Is he in a new environment? What's causing him to do that? Is it because the prong collar? Is it because it's a tight leash? Is it because you're a stranger holding this dog back and he doesn't know? Is it because he's getting shocked by someone at something? I mean, there can be a number of reasons why this dog is reacting, and it doesn't mean that he needs any of this nonsense.
Trying to bite other dogs, any dog that comes near him, especially intact males, he wants
not especially, it's especially, whatever. I know I'm being the punctuation police, whatever.
Nothing to do with him, and he's trying to show everybody that he's the big dog.
What I saw was not him trying to be big dog like you think that you are, which you're not. With dogs, it's not usually not about ego. With humans, it is. With this guy, what I saw was very fear-reactive, fear-based, and this is going to make it worse. The shock collar, the prong collar, the overcorrection, even on a flat buckle collar, that leash gets tight at the wrong time, and this dog will be reacting. It's the pressure. We have to teach them alternate behaviors in a way that they can understand. That's not just through brute force and pain.
Little does he know, he is not the big dog anymore.
He doesn't think he is, and neither are you, buddy.
And if you follow along, we're going to show you how we get Mr. Kane to become...
God, that poor dog. Like, just whale eyes. He's just uncomfortable. Again, he has to have all this nonsense on.
Beautifully well-behaved, obedient dog that you can take.
Okay, beautifully well-behaved, obedient. All those words sound nice, but he works for the owner. I work for the dog. I would never put this... The thing about this is, you can have this and have your dog look obedient and act obedient, but how do they feel on the inside? One day they're going to blow. It gives you the false pretense that your dog can sit and anybody can go pet them, and then the dog bites. And the dog gets put down or abused further or trained harder or whatever it is, because we had a false pretense that this dog is now, quote-unquote, safe, obedient. I don't care about obedience. I want my dog to be comfortable. I want my dog to be able to growl and tell people to back off and tell dogs to back off because it tells me that we have training to do to help them feel more comfortable in these situations. It's just stupid. This poor dog doesn't stand a chance. And some dogs are not meant to go anywhere. Yeah, it sounds fun, but it also takes a lot of work. And if you're only willing to do it when you can correct your dog and you want it done quick, then you don't deserve the dog, in my opinion. So we're going to end that there. That was a little compilation of this guy. I still forget what his name is. I don't know. This is Overwatch. That's not him, but... American Standard Dog Training is the name of him. This should not be the standard of dog training in America. If it is just piss poor and just horrifying. If this is somehow becoming the standard, or anybody thinks this should be the standard. This was the standard 60 years ago. Move on, dude. Re-educate yourself. And this guy's over here trying to sell, I'll teach you how to be a certified dog trainer. He's not even certified. How is he going to certify other people? Jesus, but... Okay, that's it. That's the end of this video. I'm going to go take my Shiba for a walk. But we don't have any of this. Nothing on his neck at all. He uses a harness. And he's a good boy. And he has been for many, many years because he taught his stupid human mama how to listen to him and show him respect. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I know it's kind of hard when I'm like calling people asshats and whatnot, but like, you know, I'm giving the people back what they're giving the dogs. So I'm trying to give the dogs voice in this video, whatever. So go give your little babies, you know, whether they're scaly and reptilian, or they are amphibian, or they're in the water and scaly, or they are fluffy or feathery or non-existent. Go give your little kiddos a hug for me. And a kiss for me if you don't contract salmonella by doing so. Don't put yourself in harm's way, or if they don't like hugs. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. If you liked it, leave a like. If you did not like it, you can leave a dislike. That's fine. I understand. If you want to subscribe, you can. You don't have to. And until next time, stay positive.